Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Istation parent meeting. We are going to wait about 5 minutes before we begin as we wait for other parents to join us. Thank you, everybody, for allowing that 5-minute wait time as parents entered into our meeting. And my name is Linda Rawls. Let me introduce myself. I am one of the literacy coaches here at Austin Ridge, and I am sitting here with a team of people that you can't see, but I am not alone in this room. I have here with me some of our Istation leaders that I will introduce to you here once we get started with the presentation, and with Miss Oliver, who's one of our assistant principals. So thank you for being here with us, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you and move through the presentation that we have ready to present to you. All right. I'm putting the agenda in the chat. So you should be seeing on the screen here are the welcome page that says Istation Parent Meeting, welcome parents. So again, if you've just joined us, welcome to our meeting for this evening. And there are 3 of us who are champions and leading Istation for Austin Ridge. That's myself, Linda Rawls, Aaron Cole, and Ruth Ann Freeman. So we're going to help you navigate through this. Again, thank you for joining us on this wet evening. Hopefully we're able to answer some questions for you as we move through the topic of Istation. Before I actually get into what is Istation, I just want to go over some protocols for our meeting for this evening. And so the first protocol is, as you have questions, or you may already have questions already formulated in your mind, some of those questions may be answered in the presentation. So you might want to just hold on to those questions to see if they're answered. But if it's just burning and you just have to get it out, feel free to drop those questions in our chat box. We do ask that we keep the questions isolated to our topic of focus tonight, which is Istation. And again, we always have to just give that gentle reminder of making sure that the questions are appropriate. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the big question of what is Istation? So if you've been wondering, that, you may have had some of the questions that are on the screen. What is Istation? What data is it going to provide? And what are we going to do with that data once the assessment is over? Do I need to do anything to help my child prepare? What is expected of parents when it comes to this assessment? And what's all the buzz about the Istation software download? Those might be some questions that have been floating in your mind. These are really great questions that we will discuss and address in this meeting. Okay. So addressing the what is Istation. So I just want to first ask if you received your parent letter, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on this blue link that you see on the screen, just in case you're wondering what parent letter I'm referring to. It was a parent letter that was sent home, I believe last Friday. And so that would have come from your child's teacher in an email. And it just gives you some very general information about the Istation assessment that we're going to be doing. On that letter, you would have actually found a video that explains the process of the assessment that your child is going to take, and some steps of what's going to happen before the assessment, what happens after that. So again, if you did not get this email, please go back and check your email, maybe even your spam, just to make sure you have this letter. Okay. All right. And then moving back to the what is Istation question. Well, Istation is powered by the science of reading. Istation assesses the National Reading Panel's Big 5 foundational essentials. And those are our literacy skills. And those literacy skills are phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, comprehension, and vocabulary. And there is a wonderful sheet that actually you actually can refer to, that's called ISIP skills. And it gives you just a broader description of what will be measured for your child if they are taking that part of the assessment. Each grade level band actually have different assessments that they actually take. And so again, these are just some general descriptions of some of the skills that are assessed during the Istation assessment. So it's just a great parent letter to actually go through. So moving on from that, in terms of what data are we going to get from this assessment, and then what we're going to do with the assessment afterwards. So as a school and as a district, This assessment is going to allow us to gain actionable and insightful data to support literacy for our students. After the assessment, the Istation platform will continue to be used by your child. So this is not a one-time thing, one-time interaction that your child will have with Istation. The platform itself will actually, it's adaptive. So it will provide an adaptive curriculum that will allow for practice opportunities throughout the quarter. Teachers can assign tasks to students, but if students just log on after the assessment, they will be able to interact with that adaptive curriculum based on where their scores fell when they took this assessment. More information about the adaptive curriculum will be coming home to you from your child's teacher after the assessment has been completed. So here's that stamp. What is expected of parents? Well, first and foremost, just breathe, right? Stop, breathe, and then start all over again. And then after you do that, and you catch your breath, just know that the big fat answer to that is no. There is nothing that you will need to do to prepare your child for this assessment. But we do want to make sure that he or she knows when they're testing. So what their testing date is, what time is the assessment, so you can have those babies ready, well slept, you got a good breakfast or lunch, depending on when they're taking their assessment, and that they're present that day. And then lastly, you will want to make sure that two things are successfully done. You want to download the Istation software to your device. So this will ensure that your child will be able to log into the assessment platform. So in the agenda, which the agenda, I believe, if it's not been dropped in the chat, will be dropped into the chat. And that agenda for today's meeting will have a linked troubleshooting document that will support you as you are downloading that Istation software to your device. And then beyond downloading the Istation software, you do want to do a test run with your child to ensure that he or she is able to log in to Istation. So that way, when their testing day comes, you can have, your child get onto the platform and be ready for testing. So you do want to do that test run. There's also within that agenda, there's a parent assessment guide. I think is very helpful. That kind of shows you kind of screenshots of what your child would see when they're actually logging in to Istation through their Wake County portal. There are some important things that we want you to know. So, and these are some big pointers that we want you to just kind of have on your full frontal, and also maybe discuss with your child before their assessment date comes up, which is next week. When your child is taking this assessment, on the screen, it could be in the top right, or it might be in the bottom right corner of your child's screen. There is not a warning or a sign that's going to say that this test is finished. And so if we're just asking parents, if you could just kind of have your eyes and monitor, especially this one thing, you're going to be looking for, there's this picture down at the bottom of the left side of your screen right now. It says ISIP in progress. That is what you will notice if your child is testing. Okay, so there's going to be no sign that says, hey, this test is finished. That's okay if we have your eyes there as a parent and you're saying, wow, I don't see that blue ISIP in progress button. If that ISIP in progress is not on the screen, it means your child has finished testing and Istation has moved them into the adaptive curriculum. Okay, that's not a bad thing, right? That platform, we want students to actually interact in that platform, but it's not something that they have to do on testing day. So if you notice that that blue I SIP in progress button is not on the screen, feel free to tell your child that they are finished with the assessment and they can move on with their other activities for today. The test itself should take most students between 20 and 40 minutes. Again, that's dependent upon your child. And beyond that, there's nothing for students to submit once the test is finished. So once they finish all the different components of the test for their grade level band, again, that information is automatically populates for the teacher, and the teacher can pull the report, see how your student did. And again, your child is going to be working in that adaptive curriculum, which you're going to politely, say, hey, your testing is over. You can go ahead and log off of Istation once the testing is finished. And then lastly, we just really encourage you to just have your child do his or her best on the assessment. And while we know there may be questions that they actually may have as they're actually testing, and again, we just want you to encourage them to do their very best. But we really do want a valid measure of the performance of the student. So if you can if you notice that your child is having any type of challenges or maybe have certain questions about different parts of the assessment, that would be a great thing to communicate to the teacher. So you do the encouragement, just do the best you can, answer what you think is the most reasonable answer, but then do let the teacher know if there were some challenges with the assessment. That would be helpful feedback for the teacher. And I said that was the last thing for important reminders, but it was not. There is one more important reminder, and that is it is okay for your child to take breaks during this assessment. If there needs to be a bathroom break, maybe for something occurs where they have to step away from the test, that is okay. We're just asking that you pause the test. Okay, you don't lose any of your answers if that's done. You're just going to do pause for the test, and then the student will be able to step away from the assessment, and then you come back to it, unpause, and then you keep going. Okay. And then following up with that on some things that have come to our attention that we really want you to know, or make sure that we just continue to actually reiterate is, please make sure you know the specific date and time that your child is testing. But even before that, some students, even right now, especially for our students who took Istation last year, who are familiar with the platform, may go into Istation. We are asking to please have your child wait to take their assessment. We do want you to do a test run to make sure that passwords are working, right? Which is going to be your child's student ID, but we do not encourage them to take this assessment right now. We really do want the students taking this assessment with their peers when their class is scheduled to take it. And again, if you don't know this information, please reach out to your teacher if you're not sure of your test date and the time of your test. And then now to the big question of what is with this Istation download? It's not been easy. That's come to our attention, and we certainly are here to support you in any way we can. First and foremost, we feel your pain, and we thank you for attempting to download the Istation software. And for those of you you've already reached out with challenges that you've had, we've been able to walk parents through some of those challenges. The first thing that we actually would ask you to do is to really pay attention to that troubleshooting document, because that document is kind of like your Istation Bible. If you use that document first before you attempt to say, hey, I can't get in, try to do some of that troubleshooting work before you actually, before you feel like you have to step away from the download to actually contact us. Although we will work with you as needed. okay? But we're here to support any of your questions. But just know that troubleshooting document is your friend when it comes to Istation. And what we're going to do now is we are going to open up the forum for questions. So it looks like the chat box has been super busy, and we've got some questions that we're going to field. And so I just want to just disclaimer, I may actually not be the person answering your question. You might hear a voice off to the side. I just didn't want that to throw you off should it happen. Okay. All right.
All right, Ms. Rawls, we have a couple of parents who are asking, just to reiterate, what the proposed dates or the week of testing, so that they can just know when to be prepared for that test.
So testing is going to happen the week of September 21st. So we can't say for sure what date your child's test is on, because we left that up to our grade level teams. So as a school, we are testing the week of September 21st. So if you do not know your child's test date and time, you do want to actually check in with your child's teacher, because each grade level selected the time of testing and the date that they would be testing, but all testing will happen next week. Okay, so if you did not hear the question that was asked, and I am answering, and you're probably wondering, what am I talking about? The question was, when is testing going to occur? And for Austin Ridge, our testing week is next week. Our grade levels have selected their own date and their own time for actually taking the Istation test. So if you don't know that information from your child's teacher, you want to actually touch base with them to get that information.
The next question is, does Istation require a username and password on Wake County issued Chromebooks?
So the next question is there a password and username required on a Wake County device for Istation? So the answer to that is, part of that is true. If you're using the Wake County device, going through the Wake County application, so your child is in their Wake County account, they should not have any need for a password. If you are getting a message back that's saying that your child needs to enter a password, that might mean that you are you're trying to get to the Istation platform and you are not in the Wake County account. Okay, you have to be in the Wake County account in order for your child to actually have access to Istation.
And I might be able to answer this question, and if I need to get closer, I can. The question is, where do we get the parent username and password from?
The parent username and password. Erin, you can answer that question.
Great. So this is Mrs. Cole. I'm the disembodied voice on the outside of the camera here. You can get your username and password from your child's classroom teacher. As soon as all students are finished testing, we'll have teachers send out parent letters, and those parent letters will include your username and your password so that you have access to the parent portal. And you can actually log in and see your child's student summary from their subtests in Istation. So you'll have that access as soon as testing is finished. Hopefully before track out, we'll send those letters to you so that you can get your username and password too.
And if your child was with us here last year and they actually took the assessment and you were in grades, would not actually apply for our kindergarten students, but for our students who were in 1st through 3rd grade, the password has not changed. So that parent portal that you had access to last year when your child actually took Istation, it's the same. Thank you for that question.
The next question is, what if a student doesn't understand the instructions? Can parents help?
Thank you for asking that question. So the Istation platform is very kid-friendly. And there are some characters on there that will go over the directions for your student as much as they have to. Your child can hit repeat to actually hear the instructions. We do ask that you really try to have your child re-listen to the directions versus you actually feeding them the directions. But thank you for asking that question.
Can my child take practice tests?
So there are no practice. So let me rewind. So in school, so your child's teacher, they're going through and they're actually, your child's teacher can actually show modeling of the different assessments. Your child actually has access to actually review the modeling assessments right now. So if you log into Istation right now and you follow all of those steps, you're going to see an icon that says ISIP assessment. That ISIP is blue. That is the button that you do not want to click on. That is going to begin the assessment. However, there is a brown icon that says modeling. So you can click on that modeling button. Your child can do that right now, and they actually will be able to see a modeled practice of the different assessments that their grade band will be taking.
Hey everyone, this is Ms. Cole again, and I'm just piggybacking off of what Ms. Rawls said. If you are a parent of a child in 4th or 5th grade, your child actually won't have that modeling icon there when they log into their Istation dashboard. And it's because our 4th and 5th grade Istation subtests are pretty intuitive. And they haven't designed that modeling for our students in the older grades because they just assume that they're going to be able to understand the instructions. But your teachers are going to give them some information about what subtests they will be taking and what to expect for the assessment so that they're not going into the assessment completely blind. But they won't have that modeling icon there.
That is true. Thank you. I did forget that. So only our K through 3rd grade students have access to that brown modeling icon. It does not exist for our 4th and 5th grade students.
That's the end of our questions right now, Ms. Rawls.
That's the end of our questions right now. If you happen to have a question that you would like to drop into the chat, we'll be happy to answer it for you. And if nothing is kind of coming up for you right now in terms of questions, once we end our meeting and questions come up, just know that you can send a message to your child's teacher first and see if they actually can help you navigate those questions. And then we've asked our teachers to forward questions to us as needed, and then we're happy to reach out to answer some of those questions. We do thank you for your time this evening and for joining us. And we'll give a couple of minutes before we actually give our Gator sign off to see if additional questions actually come into the chat. If you could, just one ask of you, could you let us know in the chat if you found this parent information helpful for you? That would be great feedback for us. We really don't want this testing that's happening at home to be a stressful time. We want it to be something that, of course, your child interacts and but we don't want it to be a stressful time for you as parents or for our students either.
Ms. Rawls, we have a parent who's asking about the iPractice app.
I'm not really familiar with the iPractice app. That's not one of the platforms that we actually have received any type of information on for our students. The best that we have right now would just be the modeling for our K3 students. Once they log in, one of the icon options would be the brown modeling icon.
One of our viewers is saying that they still don't see a modeling button. So it's possible that if you don't see a modeling button and you are a parent of a K3 student, you just have to make sure that you're logged in as the student through their Wake ID and that you've made it all the way into their Istation dashboard and that Imagination Station window has popped up. Otherwise, you will not see a modeling icon unless you are actually in the Istation dashboard where the students will be taking the test.
It definitely has to be your child's account. Thank you for asking that question.
We have a viewer who's asking whether or not the testing will occur under parent supervision or under teacher supervision.
Okay, so that's a really good question, and so the answer to that is your babies are going to be at home with you, right? So basically, it's kind of like you are proctoring the assessment, and again, every grade level is different. So as you are beginning your assessments, you may have teams that are deciding to say, "Hey, we're going to ask that your mic be off, but you actually have cameras on." That again, based on your grade level, these are grade level decisions that are actually being made. But just know that we do understand that you are there home with the child, but certainly we trust that our families have, the best intentions. And so mainly you are basically considered the proctor for this assessment.
And many of our classroom teachers are actually going to launch your students into assessment. So they may start their morning and their typical morning meet. They may remind students about testing, remind them about best practices and to try their best, remind them not to be stressed out and it's just an assessment to see where they're at. And then they'll kind of launch that testing so that they either may ask students to stay in the meet or they might ask them to close the meet and leave and to do testing on their own. But know that many teachers are actually going to launch the testing in the morning. So that will be teacher facilitated. But then as Ms. Rawls mentioned, part of it will be parent facilitated.
So you just want to really just follow the lead of the instructions of the teacher that day of assessment.
We have a question that asks, once in the Wake ID portal, where is Istation on a Wake County device?
Excellent question. So if you are in the Wake County portal, your child will first have to actually click on home base first. So they'll need to find the home base icon. And again, this is all listed out for you for in student login, but you're going to click on home base. And once your child clicks on home base, a window's going to open, and then they're going to need to put in their student ID. And from the student ID is going to take them to another page with applications, and the Istation icon is on that page. And then you would click on it, and then you would, it should launch them right into the Istation platform.
I can answer the next question. The next question says, when I log into the Wake ID portal and I go to the NC Ed Cloud, I can see the Istation icon, but I have not downloaded Istation. Just because you see the icon there in the NC Ed Cloud doesn't mean that you've actually downloaded the Istation software to your computer. You can actually go ahead and click on that icon, and then you'll have a blue button and a kind of an orange-brown button in front of you. And when you click on the blue button to launch Istation, it'll tell you whether or not you've downloaded the software. And then if you scroll to the bottom, there's just a little blue button that says download Istation, and then you can follow the directions that are in that troubleshooting document Ms. Rawls mentioned. So everybody has the Istation icon in their NC Ed Cloud. Just because you have that icon there does not mean that you've downloaded Istation to your computer.
And if you don't download it, it won't actually take you into that assessment platform at all.
We have a question that says, what happens if the child pushed the blue button by mistake?
So if the blue button was pushed by mistake, unfortunately, there's no way for us we can't reset the assessment. And so if they've clicked the blue button, unless that you notice at home, like they click the blue button and they go right out of it, it's kicking them into the testing window.
And just piggybacking off of Ms. Rawls, there's actually 2 blue buttons, which makes it very confusing for our children and even for us as teachers. There's one blue button that says launch Istation, and that's okay to click. It's the button that's right next to the oral reading fluency button. That one's totally fine to click. Once you hit open the imagination station and it takes you into the Istation platform, then you'll see a variety of buttons. One of them says ISIP, and that one's blue. That's the one we don't want them to click because that'll kick them directly into the beginning of the year assessment. So it is okay to click the first blue button, not okay to click the second blue one until the day of testing.
And it depends on what screen you're referring to, because if you're referring to a screen that just has the blue button that says launch Istation, and then there's an orange one that says, it says something about oral reading fluency, I think. There are just 2 options there. that's the blue button that you can actually click.
We have another viewer that's saying that they still don't see the modeling icon and asking if it's the launch oral reading fluency button.
So if the launch oral reading fluency button is, we're not doing the oral reading fluency. So that's actually, even if you click on that, it's not going to take you into anything that's going to matter for this assessment. So if you're seeing that oral reading fluency, to the left of that, you should actually see the blue launch Istation. You can click on that, and that's fine. So I guess it would depend on what else is on the screen that you're seeing.
We have a viewer who's just made a note that if you don't have a Wake County public school issued Chromebook, you have to make sure that you're not logged in as a guest on that Chromebook and that you're actually logged into the child's Wake ID. If you're logged in as a guest or as somebody else, or if you've gone in another way that's not through your child's Wake ID portal, you won't be able to access the platform.
You will not be able to access the platform. So to take this assessment, you cannot be logged in as a guest. You have to be logged in as your child, as if they are getting ready to take this assessment. So thank you for actually dropping that into there. That was very helpful for our parents who might actually have a Chromebook or a laptop at home that is not district provided.
We have a question that's asking if we're just limited to the modeling icon for now, or are we allowed to read books?
Read away. Okay, you want to read books? Go for it. We encourage you to read till your heart is content. You can click on any of those buttons as long as it's not that blue ISIP button. Some of those buttons are actually new for us, and they actually, because we have now access to the adaptive curriculum. So you are free to click on any of those other buttons, just not that blue ISIP button, please.
This is actually a really great question. I'm happy to jump into, Ms. Rawls. How will this be handled for children with disabilities?
That is a very good question.
So because this is a universal screener, this isn't an assessment that a child would take in class for a grade. For students with disabilities who have accommodations typically in class, these accommodations wouldn't apply to this sort of test. However, for students who typically get extended time in class, we can still use that accommodation, and in working with your child's teacher, we can be sure that we chunk the testing session into multiple testing sessions, offering the child multiple times for a break throughout the assessment. And that's one of the ways that we can sort of modify that assessment for students who need some additional help. That was a great question. Another user is asking, my daughter played the games on Istation. Is it okay to do that for right now?
Play games, read books, use that brown modeling icon if you actually want to see what to expect on the assessments for your grade level band. And that's more than fine. Thank you for asking that.
We have quite a few people who are asking if we might be able to show how to launch the blue button versus the other blue button that we don't want to launch. So we pulled up an iPad for Ms. Rawls, and I'm hoping she might be able to hold this up to the screen for you.
All right. Somebody out there in the YouTube universe is giving me some extra things to do, but that's okay.
And just to be clear for all of you at home, she's got 3 screens that she's looking at right now.
All right. So here we go. And again, so here's an iPad, and you can see on here. But this is already, so this is the screen. I don't know how well you can see this. So this is the screen that your child is actually going to see for where it says Istation. Okay, so this is where all the different applications that your child would see after they actually click on NC Ed Cloud. You're going to see that Istation icon. Okay. Once that icon is actually hit, what you're going to see, once that icon is actually clicked on, you're not going to get a blank screen, which is what I got right now. All right, you're going to get that screen that I was talking about. You're going to get that blue icon that says Launch Istation or the oral reading fluency. We're not doing anything with oral reading fluency, so you can steer away from that button, but I will go ahead and click on the Launch Istation button. Oh, but before I click on the Launch Istation button, parents, if you get to this window and you go down to the bottom of the screen, you're going to see Parent Portal down there. That's how you would actually get to the Parent Portal. And if you actually know your child's username, or you know your username and password as a parent, this is where you would actually access your child's information for their assessments. Okay, I'm going to click on the Launch Istation application.
That's
So
the button that is okay for you to click.
all right. Now it says, so what you're going to see is this is going to start happening, right? So you're seeing the little dots are going across the screen and it's saying launching iStation. And then there is a button there that says download iStation. You want to click on that because you won't get that if you have downloaded iStation. So this person who has given me this iPad has not downloaded iStation. So I'm going to click on that. And it's just slow, it's thinking, but I went ahead and clicked on download iStation. And just depending on how fast that actually goes through, it's moving along. What's going to happen then? It will start downloading the software for you. Oh, and there it went. All right. So then I clicked on that. And so what it's telling you now is click on the appropriate download for your platform. So what device do you have? So you need to make the decision. Is this for a Chromebook? Is it for Windows? Is it for a Mac? You want to follow those directions to actually download iStation. Okay?
I can answer this question. This question asks that they are entering in their son's student ID, but it keeps saying that authentication failed. So if you're trying to enter in your son's student ID, you want to make sure that it's their lunch number. Students often refer to it as their lunch number, and you also want to make sure that there's no spaces before the number or after the number, because that'll register as a different number. If it kicks you to a screen that says, it asks you for a password, that means that you've not entered in the correct number, and you might want to double check with your child's classroom teacher to be sure that the number is correct. The next question. I love this question. Is there a way to disable that button for testing and enable it when it's time to do so?
Listen, let me tell you what. If there was a way for us to disable that button, it would have been done weeks ago. So the answer to that is no, we cannot disable that button, but all we really can do is just discourage clicking on that ISIP assessment button. But thank you that's a really good question. There is no way to make that button disabled.
I can answer this question. This question asks the username and password for iStation. Is it the same as the Wake ID portal? So you should never be asked for a username for iStation. If you get kicked to the iStation screen and it looks like it's trying to launch that application and it asks you for a username and password, that means that you haven't gone in for your child's Wake ID. What it should do when you launch that application is it should say attempting single sign-on, and it shouldn't ask you for a password or a username. So you'll want to just make sure you go back and follow all those steps. Make sure your child's logged into their Wake ID before you try to launch that application. Otherwise, it will ask you for a username and password, which our students don't have. Great question. Do we need to download iStation if we have a Wake County Public School issued Chromebook?
So you do not need to download. It's already downloaded for you on there. Thank you for asking that question.
This question says, I downloaded my app and then I closed it. Why do I have to download it again? I'm not sure about that one.
I guess I need more information in terms of. Okay. Okay. For what kind of device?
I mean,
That was the question that she was saying. Okay, so let me try to actually address this, because for those of you who, if you're trying to actually go into apps and you're trying to download like an icon for Istation, that's not going to help you go into the portal. So we're asking that you use the download information from that troubleshooting document. And you don't necessarily need to do a separate download to actually get the Istation. There is an Istation app that you actually can download to your computer, and that's not what we're asking you to download.
This question says, does everyone need to download Istation? There was a note received from a teacher that said if your child's logged into a personal Chromebook with a school email address, your teacher can help you log into Istation, that parents won't need these instructions.
So that was the same question, I believe, that was asked. If your child has a Wake County provided device, Istation is already downloaded on that device.
But if they have a personal Chromebook, I still believe that they will have to download Istation.
You have to download it.
However, some of our classrooms are going about this a little bit differently. Some teachers are asking students to log in class with them so that they can ensure that they're logged in small groups. And then some teachers are asking parents to kind of do this outside of the live learning time, which is totally fine, but it just depends on whichever route your child's teacher is taking. And if you're still having trouble getting your child logged into Istation, please make sure that you reach out to your child's teacher so that we can troubleshoot that with them.
But also do know, I would just speak from my own computer, and I have a Wake County provided device, and that Istation was downloaded on my device last year, but I noticed when I went in this year, it did not allow me to go in. So I downloaded it again, and then I got in no problem. So just know that if something is happening with the Wake County device and you're trying to go into Istation and it's not allowing you, it's not going to harm your computer if you actually do another download.
And just to clarify, if you are using a personal Chromebook, you still need to download Istation. There are directions for how to download Istation to a personal Chromebook. I think we sent out some links to teachers this week. If you didn't get an email that had all of the different ways to download for a Mac, just reach out to your child's teacher or send an email to Ms. Rawls or Ms. Cole, and we'll send you that how-to document for how to download to a personal Chromebook. This question says, how do parents access their login for the parent portal?
So again, you will have to initially get that information from your child's teacher. Every parent will be sent that information after the assessment.
Is there any recourse if you're pretty sure we pressed the button we're not supposed to press?
The only recourse of that is if your child has taken that. Now, again, it's going to just depend on whether did your child take the test, because if they took the test, when your child's assessment day comes, they're not able to take that test again. Now, if you clicked on that button by accident and you're like, oh no, and you went right out of it, when you click in again, it will allow you to take the assessment.
Also, just so you know, every single month, the child's kind of their Istation test will almost look like it resets. They'll be able to log in again next month and take a version of the subtest again. And this is so that teachers can track their data over time. And we can take a look at how they did in September versus how they do in January. So they will have the opportunity to do it again. If you don't feel like that data was very authentic the first time that they took it because they didn't realize they were taking an assessment, it's totally fine. It's just a beginning of the year assessment, and it may be worth just sending your child's teacher an email and saying, hey,
yeah, do let your teacher know that, because we don't want your child to get into the testing day and then everyone's logging in and then they're feeling bad about it. Please don't feel bad about it. Those accidents are going to happen. We're just asking, if your child has not clicked that blue button, that ISIP assessment button, if we just steer away from that button for right now. But if you have accidentally clicked on it, just know that, you know, there's no recourse that will happen because of that. We will have to actually keep that, whatever the data is from that assessment. If they accidentally clicked on it, that's the data that we will have for the beginning of the year. One more thing, the benchmark will be actually taken beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year. Okay. We're going to take 3 more questions, and then we're going to close out for our meeting this evening.
Is there a way for parents to check to see if the child has already started the test by mistake?
We can actually see if a test has actually been started and completed. So if you are unsure about that, if you email your child's teacher can actually let you know that information. Thank you for asking that.
The Chromebooks provided by Wake County have a pretty small screen. Do you recommend a bigger screen?
The screen itself for this assessment should be fine. Once the assessment starts, it takes over the entire screen. So it really shouldn't be in terms of visibility. It should be fine for your student.
If the test gets aborted due to some technical issues like a network connection, what should we do to continue the test?
So all you have to do, that is an excellent question. Thank you for actually bringing that up. You're just going to go back into the assessment and it will take you right back to the point where you actually lost connection. So your child's answers will not be lost. Everything that they did prior to that problem with connection will actually not even matter. Your child will continue the test as normal. So just go back into the test.
And please continue to remind your students that they're going to do great. They should be relaxed. It's just so that their teachers can see where they're at. So please make sure that your child is not stressed out, and we just want everybody to be in a happy Zen place next week.
They're gonna do great. They're gonna do great. And the best thing about this platform is students have the opportunity every month to go back in and actually do some of those practice skills. And so just know that this information, along with lots of other data that will be collected this year, will be used to kind of gauge how we support our students. And again, thank you so much for joining us for this evening's parent meeting. And I said we were going to do a Gator goodbye. So this is all I got for the Gator goodbye. So thank you again, and have a very good evening.